Using a prayer.
Sure.
Lord, we're honored to serve on this board, and we just ask your guidance and your direction in everything we do. Bless us all. Bless our time in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Lynch, you want to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Mr. Secretary, you call the roll.
Mr. Barry Bradley.
Present.
Roger Smith.
Present.
Bruce Quinn.
Present.
Brian Lynch.
Present.
Jim Moynihan. Michael Williams.
Present.
John Janone. Wally Gilliam.
All right. Has everybody read through the minutes from the last meeting? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting? Second. All right. All those in favor?
Actually, here it is.
I hear a motion to approve our agenda tonight.
So moved.
All right. Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Agenda's approved. There's nobody here from, well, nobody signed up from the public to speak. Have nothing to report. We have nothing on old business. Straight on to new business, and
We'll get his glasses.
Marshall is.
Yeah. Everybody's here.
There's Jim.
It's ready.
We're gonna hold up for a minute for Mr. Wright to get his eyeball.
You got one?
And I believe, Todd, are you gonna lead the discussion in this, or is it?
Not that I know of,
I thought you wrote this.
word for word. Yeah. No, I'll just make comments from the peanut gallery as it goes.
All right.
You may not get a word in edgewise.
That's okay too. I'll just let you know what in real life it looks like.
Okay.
Did you bring
You know, what's a worry and what's not a worry, percentage wise, right?
Well, what's the worry is in the eyes of the law, if it's written down, that's what it is. Am I not correct?
You're not gonna be here forever,
What's that
correct?
song that says you don't mean nothing until you sign it on the dotted line? Who said that?
So the woman in the back of the room is president of my fan club.
Is that right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Your mama?
Yeah.
Well, nice to meet you.
She's been stuck with me for 50 years.
That's awesome.
That is great.
Mr. Moynihan, would you bring the banner?
What's the secret?
The secret? I'm deaf in one ear and I sleep on the other one.
Yes, dear.
No, they're not from around here. That banner thing was old, back when I was in the car business, that's what they would say.
I've been reading through.
You got tabbed out.
Almost. I don't know if you're interested, but I would love to elect you as the person who straightens that all out grammatically and whatnot. I know you're good at that.
Give them something to do.
I'm also good at being lazy.
Well, I know. That's why I'm asking. I'm just saying. I know you are, because we're gonna have 50 people say what they would like changed, and then we're gonna come up on what that is, and we gotta have one of those.
I'll tell you what, if you can play guitar while I'm doing it, it'll work.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
play guitar.
Okay.
Tried to play banjo one time. I loved string band when I was a kid. That didn't work out. I was a skateboarder.
Now, Mr. Wright came to class prepared.
All right.
So we've moved on to new business. We're gonna open up the discussion. I guess you'll lead us through this.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I can give a brief history, bring us kind of up to speed where we're at right now. Sumner County health and safety standards been revised, I think, 3 different times over the course of a couple decades, and it's been a few years since it's been revised, and we've been working on a current health and safety standard. Todd and myself, Todd's been spearheading it, doing most of the work on it, but we've got it, I think, close for y'all to review and critique, and a good, I think, base for y'all can use to do a takeoff on, and just feel free to mark it up as you go through it, and once y'all feel pretty good about where it's at, and pretty thorough and pretty satisfied about the document, then we will forward it on to the proper authorities and let them review it and take it from there.
All right. Sounds good.
This first little bit, Marshall, is what we started off with. You know, where is it? Let me see. Let me take this down. Starts with number 58 on the bottom, right here. Fine writing a little bit. And right here it'll say regulations governing health and safety.
Oh, wait.
And that's just, we went from this to what we got now, so it's a little bit more in depth and more detailed. So.
So what Todd was referencing, page 58 is the current health and safety standard that we're using today. And when we started,
Hold on.
it's about to say.
Yeah.
Then
We got
the revisions start after page 64. It again start on page 1. So after, once you find page 64, the next page, what says page 1, that is the new standard that we've been working on that has not been adopted yet, but it's the document that y'all be working off of.
So this is in place now. This is what you want to amend, if there's a bunch of them to it.
That's right. Yeah.
So we just want to move on from here, and starting in chapter 1, if we've got any questions from here, you just want us to go through here, how do you want to proceed? Or do you want to read through the whole thing with us out loud?
Well, you know, it looks like, because I've read most of this, it looks like a lot of the same things that were here are restated. Maybe if you can, if somebody, like, you may know what's different, we can just go right to those parts and look at them.
Well, I would like to start from the beginning, because I don't believe just because it's stated that it's necessarily correct to begin with, so.
Okay, no, that's fine.
You should take it chapter by chapter.
I mean, I'm
Yeah, not
starting at
everybody,
definitions.
not, we get to read, or read to like children, but maybe take a chapter and read it and say, you see anything wrong with that? And then somebody has a question, say that. Take a minute or two, right?
However y'all want to proceed. I'd like to just kind of briefly start with definitions of stuff so that I've got an understanding. Right here, definition under accumulation of debris, rubbish, trash, and litter or garbage.
Yes.
Okay.
Chapter 2.
Y'all state that anything that is considered not to have economic value is considered trash, rubbish, or garbage. But I've been here my whole life, and sometimes there's something that's more important than economic value, and it would be sentimental value. So I don't know that we
Are
can
you
just.
gonna lay that out in your yard?
Well, sometimes maybe I've got a 1947 Mercury that belonged to my dad that's sitting in my field, and I live in the county.
Has it got a tag on it?
Yeah.
If it,
If it's got an antique tag on it, I'm not gonna touch it.
no. Or let's say it's a pull type disc that my dad used to farm tobacco with, sitting in the middle of
That's
the
a
field.
farm
does not count either.
No, I know where you're coming from.
It
I
just
hear
feels
what
like,
you're saying,
But
Barry.
as long as it's tagged, right? If it's a vehicle, as long as you
Yeah,
got a
and I'm
license
just
or a
going,
boat, it's tagged.
and being here on record or not, if I didn't live in this county, things may be different, but in my world, everybody gets one junk car. I'm not gonna send you a letter for one junk car. If you got more than one junk car, you're gonna get a letter.
but you're not always gonna be here.
I know.
And if this is on paper, then this carries on to the next
I agree,
administration.
I agree with all that.
And
Well, good luck
I just want to
with
make sure that we're
one person
thorough
handling it.
and we're protecting private individual property rights as we go, which is hugely important to me.
I
And
think
and limited
everything
government at
could
the
be,
same time.
Hey, well, if it's,
No, go ahead, I'm sorry. I was
if,
gonna-
if you got some sort of little building structure that you could just keep it in there, does it need to be tagged?
No, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah. So that's another
But-
thing.
I mean, that's the purpose, and when we read through this, it specifically says out in the yard, and it gives
Right.
the perimeter footage.
Yeah.
And that's where he's coming from. So yeah, if you got a structure that you can store something.
Right.
It's out of sight, out of mind, especially when it comes to all the neighbors.
Unless it's in a tractor trailer or a shipping container.
Yeah, and
Sure.
we've got,
That's- And there's a
Another
section for all that too.
that's another problem, I mean, some folks, they've got these shipping containers, and some people bury them and use them as shelters. There's lots of, I mean, they make good storage buildings. I think that, we're being a bit of a
They
nanny
can.
state. But we'll proceed.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you though, a question. Just right above that, where it says accessory structures,
Mm-hmm.
is a playhouse really considered an accessory structure?
No, but anything
Well,
over
it's in the
200 square feet, I don't know that we've ever permitted a playhouse, not that that wouldn't be a bad
Because I mean, I thought to myself, I'm looking at
That's
this,
an
and it's saying garage,
amusement
carport, accessory dwelling, I get all that, but then all of a sudden it just says playhouses, and I thought, I know a lot of kids and parents don't keep the playhouse up, I don't, you know.
thing. And that's the sort of
I think it's
thing,
just kinda
you
overkill.
reach out and then you scratch off, so I mean, that may be something that y'all feel like is too much, and that's a good one.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Because I never have
I would
turned
hate
in a
to sit there
permit
and
for a
say, well, I've already
playhouse.
got a playhouse, now I can't put something out here because I'm only deemed one
Yeah.
accessory structure, or
But
whatever.
you,
my
but
zoning.
you're not, but
A tiny house maybe, but, you know, like in our subdivision, you can't have an additional residential structure on.
Right, I mean, it all depends on
But
your
that's not
zoning.
me, though, that would be your
But you're also
covenant.
inside the city limits, and we're talking about county.
Well, I
and
mean,
all
it's your
this is,
covenants, your covenants have things that I don't have, they're way more restrictive than
Yeah,
I am
they
if
are.
you live in a nice home.
Anyway, that was just the one
I-
word that stood out to me when I started reading through this with playhouse, I thought, that's
Well,
kind
that's
of.
fair, that's a good catch.
So we're trying to initially set up a format of how we want to go through this. So when you find something like you just did about playhouses, you may not want it in there, you may want to stroke out the language.
Mhm.
Steve, is that something they should vote on as we go through it? Or what's your recommendation?
I mean, should we just make notes and forward it to whomever?
Yeah,
Just gonna-
I mean, if you, however you want to do it, I mean, I think it'd be a good idea, once you have an idea, you go through chapter, each chapter.
Yeah.
I think we
And then
should.
make it by chapter, might make it
Yeah.
easier to do. And that's up to you guys, I mean, whatever you think's more organized. You know, I just have someone keep track of all the changes for each chapter, and at the end of the chapter, you say, okay,
We'll make a,
here's the changes.
resolution to change the.
Yeah.
And what about tree houses? I mean, they could be unsafe,
I
right?
think it's the same thing.
It's the same thing, playhouse, whether it's a playhouse in a tree or
Uh,
a playhouse on the ground, right? But do we make a distinguish between the two of them?
Building code says nothing for tree houses in the IRC, does it, Marshall?
Yeah.
Unless you put water or power on it.
Well,
That's
tough.
a fancy.
Well, I think you should just look at the definition of what accessory structure is, which is, those are just examples, but a structure which is on the same parcel of property as a principal structure, and the use of which is incidental to the use of the principal structure, whatever that is, doesn't matter if it's playhouse or whatever it is. Just the examples, I don't think are really, they're just examples, they're not really, you know,
So it's
complete
included,
definition.
but not limited to.
Yeah,
Okay.
And unfortunately, a lot of this is gonna be discretion at some point, but I hear what Barry's saying too, if it's down there, if it's
down there, it's
black
law.
and white, it can be.
Yeah.
so it
I think
sounds
the more
to
black
me
and
like
white,
the
the
general
better.
consensus is if somebody wants to, for us to make a notice on something, we'll make a notice on it and we'll accumulate all them, and then at the end, before y'all vote on everything, we'll go through all of it at one time and.
Make a motion to approve this.
I second that.
Yeah.
and do
Yeah.
that.
That'll work.
So
Well,
do we have anything for accessory structures that we're concerned about?
well, I mean,
Playhouse?
I saw that 'cause I thought
No,
that might be a
fair.
little overreach right there. I mean, I
Okay.
understand garages and stuff, but
so I say we come up with some more adequate language for that I agree with you.
So where did the 200 square feet come from? Is that just?
IRC, anything over
So
200
that's
square
code.
feet, you have to get a permit. Mhm.
That's your state code?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
200 square feet.
Over 200 square feet. And these are just definitions, they're not the code itself, what you get in
Correct.
trouble for. They're just definitions. If somebody says accessory structure in the code, then that's down here in the next bunch of pages, you'll be able to say what's an accessory structure, does this qualify?
So I want to ask a question, I guess this is okay. What would be your top 10 problems you're seeing?
That's very good. High grass vegetation, junk cars, debris, God knows whatever, and a lot of it, tires.
Abandoned houses.
Yeah, things that I can do stuff about, things I can't do stuff about, people living in campers that I don't have we don't have really any power for that. I mean, we try and we get success, we do. But if it came down to it and somebody wanted to dig in, we're gonna have a hard time getting them out of there. But
Yeah, but isn't that violation of zoning though?
it is.
The high grass vegetation thing, that's not like, I mean, do we really have resources to be out in the county telling people how high to keep the grass? And
We do.
It's,
15 inches, right?
We do. You gotta think about it, Barry, you got that fat house living up there looking good, and your neighbor, and I wish I'd bring some pictures, and you got a neighbor who says, no, I'm not cutting the grass. Your property value is going down. I can tell you, take a ride down Cage's Bend.
I do, every day I live down it.
Okay, I'll give you an address.
Oh, I know, the one
Don't
on
give
the
me
left,
the
so you turn in Cage's Bend, it's terrible.
No, I don't, no.
I got, in my neighborhood, there's not a house under $1 million. I got somebody that put up a swimming pool and don't have a above ground and don't have a fence around it.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen y'all
But
out
the
there.
pool itself is the barrier.
The pool itself,
Is the barrier.
anytime you got a,
Speak
above
to it,
ground?
Marshall, it's above ground pool.
Above ground.
Yeah, not that it didn't need a permit, it probably did need a permit,
Yeah.
but the pool itself is the barrier.
Okay.
That's what the swimming, whatever.
Yeah.
code says.
And then if it's over 24 inches, right? Of
Is
water.
it 48?
Is it 48?
24.
Any pool over
On the water
24
field.
Any
inches deep.
pool over 24 inches deep, right?
that's all right, we deal with it though, we're a community,
Yeah.
they're new to the neighborhood, we'll let them know that that's not the way we live around here, but.
What about decomposing trash? Is that part of this?
Yeah.
That's part of this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Smell up the neighborhood?
I should bring you some fun ones.
I'll have to confess, when I lose power, I go live in the RV until the power comes
Heck
back on.
You need a good electrician to wire that thing up.
Yeah, I just need a generator on the house.
So,
The part about my job that may not be for everybody is I gotta make you wanna do that because you're a nice person. Fix your junk,
Todd, you're pretty sure, I manage 200 rental properties, I get it.
you get it.
But, I mean, we're talking about individual property owners out in the county, and somebody's been here with the overgrowth of vegetation, and I don't know how that's necessarily, I mean, maybe you see something I don't, but that's a health and safety concern.
Right. Catch that phone for all week. My neighbor ain't cut his grass since summer started. We got rats and coons and everything else cause of them snakes.
some
are
rat
going
trap.
I think
Go out
I heard
there,
a
you're in
tiger the
town.
other night.
Yeah, what y'all gonna do about it? I'm gonna call Channel 5. You don't get this straight now. I'm calling Channel 5.
We'll let them come out there and
You know, but
it's,
and I'm gonna make him feel good about cutting his grass. And when he does, that's awesome, dude. I mean, you're good.
and while you're
Close
good
your
at that,
file.
I can't always count on Todd being here, that's why I'm concerned.
Well, somebody can do it. It ain't
Not
rocket
everybody's got that
science.
disposition.
You just gotta have.
But as it is written, so it will be done.
That's right, and that's
Yeah.
not, we don't
That's-
got
that's why we
anything
gotta
that no
clarify
other
this
county
stuff.
has.
You're
We're not
exactly right,
like
Bruce.
trying to trend set here,
Yeah.
no way. This is all, I mean, y'all know about Franklin. You know about Kentucky, they're tight, they're gonna put a fine on you in a New York minute. We don't have that authority, so. Anyway.
without the authority, that you say you don't have the authority to fine them for these violations?
Not until we get them in a court.
So this is just a matter, you can violate them and then bring them into a court of law?
No, because it goes down to say that we can fine them $50 a day.
It's some judicial process.
That-
Past the notice process, right?
You know, it's
Yeah.
part of the judicial process. You have to go out and do a warrant.
Right.
And have it served and have a court date and then.
Well, see,
maybe
nothing
have
in this
another
paperwork
court
said
date.
anything about a warrant and all that stuff. I'm just saying,
Mm-hmm.
it's, in here, it's just said, he can go place a placard on something, or he can tell them they got 14 days to come with a remedy. If they don't, then it comes before us, or whoever, and if they don't like it, they uphold his, then
They got
it's $50 a day past that
That's
time.
not, that's a little bit out of order. They have 10 days. If they get a letter of mine, they think I'm being overboard, they're gonna say, I wanna talk to the Health and Safety Board.
Sure.
So I've handled about 300 of these a week for a year for 6 years. We have one dude. He lives in a beautiful home, and he thinks he's gonna grow himself a goat farm in the back, and his neighbor says there ain't no goat farm. And then Ben Allen and Leah said, no, we're not taking this. Y'all figure it out. We're not legally pursuing somebody who can't cut their grass. But this guy came up, he went to the Tennessee, the Knoxville Agriculture, got him a whole report on how he's gonna grow these goats, and he still ain't cut his grass. So I told him, I said, meet me in the middle, treat it like a farm, cut the edge around your property. So your guy next to you has clean, you're doing something, and a lot of it, you're gonna get a 6 or 7 or not a 10, so. But he's doing other stuff. They hate each other, and that's what you get in the middle
Oh,
of
yeah.
that.
I know, but what I was getting at was the actual
The $50,
fining process.
that's, this,
Because they
that
said, no, we
happens
can't do
when
it,
the
but
judge does
this
it, and the judge is gonna,
It's a misdemeanor. It has to be prosecuted through the courts.
yeah.
Oh, I get that.
And he's
I
not
accept that,
for
what you say, but it's not in here, what we
Yeah,
read.
I read it the same way you did.
Yeah, there's nothing about a warrant. The court is the last thing.
It is.
According to this paperwork, they have to come, they have the 10 or 14 days, they
I
have to
think
come
But
it's
here.
if
can't.
they say, they thumb your nose at you, what do we do? That's the question. If they, well, we're not gonna do it anyways.
Well,
I
then
think
it goes to the court, that's what I'm saying.
That's what the idea is.
This is, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, this is part of the due process. Everybody's entitled to have a right to due process.
Right.
The first step is Todd sends the letters. The second step is this hearing board.
Yes.
The third step, if they don't, aren't satisfied with your decision, they can appeal before the courts.
Exactly.
No, we
That's
don't
what I
take
was
them to
getting
the
at,
court.
but there was, in here, it
Okay.
talks about a $50 per
Yeah.
day fee.
Yes, what the issue is though, if they come in here, they say, let's say you come here and they, they didn't like your decision, they
Right.
don't do anything.
Yeah.
How do you get them to pay?
Well, it talks about putting a lien on the property.
Yes, but how do you get them to, how do you get all this?
Yeah,
You
okay.
have to go through the court system.
Right, and I mean,
But-
and it says that in here, but it comes after.
It comes
So
after
we just need
this.
to, we need to add that
After
the judicial
you do.
process will
Yes,
come.
probably.
Yeah, we ain't there yet.
Well,
We
here's-
ain't even got off the first definition.
I got
We need
another
to wait till we
question about
start.
this.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
another question about this. Okay, so it goes through that due process. So if I was this, owner of the property and I just wanted to give you as hard a time as I could. All right, does eventually you go to court? Now, what if it took 3-4 months and continuances and stuff? You got the where does the $50 fine start if the court rules in your favor?
As soon as we say we uphold his decision,
Yeah.
Well,
It
here's
goes back to day
here's the
one.
thing, they have the
starts.
right to appeal to this board. I
Yeah.
don't think that ever
right,
happens.
but
Yeah,
according
yeah.
to this right here,
Yeah.
it's
But
$50.
they wanna play it like
day
this
2,
happens a lot.
day 3.
Let's say they
It
appeal to this
happened one
board,
time
I would say it
about-
run from the appeal of this board
Yeah.
till whenever the final disposition is.
Okay, so after they've come through the appeal of the board, is that what, they can win in court or they can lose in court, right? So if it goes on and they wind up losing, what day does the $50 a day start?
As soon as we say it.
I mean, as
We uphold
as
his-
soon as it's upheld, or if they don't even appeal to this board, I'd date it back from the first date of the letter that went
Okay,
out.
I guess that's where we need a little clarification,
Okay.
all right?
Yeah.
What we do this, I send letters, and then once I'm not getting any satisfaction, because nobody asked for health and safety, they only have 10 days to do that. Out of the, 2,000 I've handled, I'll if it warrants it, if it's a big deal, I'll send it up to Steve. But I'm not burden him with somebody who can't cut their grass. At some point, we either get stuck, and it is, and I move on,
Let me give you an example
because I
here.
got plenty.
We got a great example where we had a guy we put a $1,500 fine on a few months ago for running an illegal, basically illegal junkyard, you know. And it works, you know, it may take some time, but it works, you know, and that money's sent back to the county, and it's, you know, that's how the process is supposed to work. It might not be the fastest way.
So he was
of doing
creating
it.
revenue out of this junkyard?
Was he creating revenue out of it? I don't.
Yeah, he was working on cars,
Okay, I mean,
keeping,
Would
he
have
didn't
been
have,
simple.
he didn't have a.
What was his tax filing status? Was he creative? I mean, you know, that's the.
No,
Yeah,
he's
also
been
under
in,
zoning
this
too.
same dude has been in problems with,
This is
the
separate from-
BZA for 20 years.
Yeah, I get it. That's just, I understand. I just want to make sure we're being as thorough and thoughtful as we can, because like I said, Todd, you're not always gonna be there. Yeah, you're easy to get along with and you're empathetic. The next guy that sits in your seat may not be, and he may be an absolute tyrant to the citizens of this county, and it's not, to me, this requires some serious thought.
So Jim, you said you wanted some more language on the process of the court.
Yeah,
The
when,
courts of appeal.
because, you know, you get a fine, or you get whatever you get if you're found or liable, okay? I don't wanna say guilty, but liable. And what if the court finds you not liable? So, I
You
mean,
will never not under my watch be found not liable, I can promise you. Because I ain't taking you to court unless you've done something bad, period.
Yeah.
But that ain't.
Yeah, but you're
Barry
not the
ain't-
judge.
Yeah, Barry's saying it ain't me. If it's bad enough that I'm gonna bug
Yeah.
Steve,
Oh, Steve, you got it, Steve.
This is something.
you gonna
that's,
pay something,
I think, you know,
or you
that's-
gonna move something.
Yeah. Todd, by the way, you're not allowed to quit, retire, or leave the county.
You have to be
Oh, I
here
know.
for 2 years.
So many more years.
Yeah.
We should keep moving down the
Definition list, I think, for right now, just to get an understanding of the
Yeah.
basis for
Yeah,
this.
this thing about, I'll go back to, we're talking about the court order here on page 14. Have authority to seek a court order against the owner's authorized agent of any premises which has been abandoned or deemed. So there's language about that in here already, but we can kind of tune it up a little bit if you want.
Yeah.
Where you at, Steve?
Page 14,
Which
paragraph
item?
17, paragraph
No.
17.
I'm not 14.
I mean, there's like for vacancy, for like a derelict structures, et cetera, and I'm just flipping through it. Page 14, paragraph 17.
No, my
Paragraph
page
17.
14's
Let's talk
got
about demolition.
17.
I'm saying there's stuff like for, you know, there's
Oh,
there's
you're
language
right.
in here of the judicial process, but it can be tweaked a little bit.
Just kind of an evolution of what that process would be good.
Page 14, paragraph
Yeah.
17.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
Page 17?
14,
Okay.
paragraph 17.
Okay, 17.
But I mean, there's language in there, but it can be, I guess, tweaked a little bit to include other things as well.
Clarified,
Yeah.
yeah.
I bet you it's in here more.
Did you have
Well, We're
something
gonna go through it anyway.
in definition, something else, Brian?
Do what, I'm sorry?
Did you have something else in definitions you saying?
Well, yeah, hold on, let me scroll up here to it right quick. This is, the reason it kind of caught my eye is because I kind of ran into it today. Blight.
Yeah.
And what it's also talking about is adversely affecting the value of your neighbors, so like an external obsolescence, okay? But there's not like a standard, there's not a percentage of anything that says this house causes blight. And what I mean by that is, this morning I had to view a property, I was down on South Magnolia Street, right over here. And the house I'm doing, it was renovated in 2020, it looked great. The house beside of it, I mean, a great portion of the front wall, the siding had fallen off, and the side, you could see the old exterior sheathing on it, and where it rained and everything else had been on it. I mean, it's discolored, it's starting to fall apart. My only question is, when you talk about blight, or the nuisance that adversely affects value, how much of that house has to be in blight condition before it's?
I think what might be a good idea is if you just remove that sentence and just go with the other definition, the remainder of that definition, that might take care of it.
Okay.
I mean, if you read-
Meaning what, Steve?
Well-
if you just use, take out that sentence and just use residence dwelling or property most commonly found unsafe for human habitation. These structures and premises exhibit evidence of rot, decay, dilapidation, compromised structural integrity, and the like. If you just remove the last sentence, that might take care of the issue.
Well, but then you also have the issue of the dilapidation, decay, that's what I was getting at. How
What
much of that
degree?
house has to be in decay
Is
before
there a
we?
percentage of material?
Yeah, I
that
mean,
must
like,
be
of the front
failed?
wall, is it 10% of the front of the
Right.
house, is it 20%?
Once again, if we leave that to your discretion, Todd, then the next guy, his discretion is not gonna be the same as yours, so.
And that's what I was thinking about, is because, you know, one person might say, oh, that's good, the other person might come out and say, no, that thing is.
So
I
you
can
think
see
that
the
we need
full-
a percentage of affected home before it's considered blight?
Well, I'm just sitting there thinking, I mean, if this thing goes to court
Yeah.
or anything like that, we need to have some standard, don't we?
Steve, is there
I don't
another
know.
word that can replace blight?
External obsolescence.
Blight's,
I'm not a wordsmith, so yeah, ask the lawyer.
Man,
I mean, blight's a good
It is
description
the
of what it
word.
is.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
don't
it
know-
is what it is.
I think that's an excellent description of what it is you're looking for here, so I'm not really sure another word would be
Because
adequate.
it's not only a
I wasn't
dwelling,
sure
it's
if you-
property.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
It's just the land can have blight.
Because I'm sitting, I mean, this house right here that I'm about to do could be a really good value on that house. Like I said, it was totally redone, but in 2020, the one next to it was like,
I think some of these things might be just be, you know, a case-by-case thing that you have to leave to the best judgment of the building inspector.
which scares the heck out of me.
I know what I'm saying is, but some of these things, I don't know how you can define it any other way, though.
Well,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
say
10% of the,
10%, what's 10%, what does that mean?
well, 10% of the exterior of the home.
Yes,
I mean, building codes sets parameters
I got
all
an
the
idea.
time.
correct.
Just my,
I got an idea, instead of 10%, trying to figure, what if the neighbors called it blight?
Well,
If
I mean,
it-
you have to have the neighbors call in usually, I think, the paperwork.
Yeah.
Three
Well,
of
the
them got
commissar
called
can
in.
go
Well, I
around and
mean,
get
what-
3
what
letters
neighbor,
from
if
neighbors
the
to
neighbors around
file
there
a
think
complaint, too.
that this
Yeah.
blight is adversely affecting the property values in the neighborhood there,
But the thing is, if the neighbors, if a lot of the neighbors' homes are starting to go down that way,
oh, well then.
then they're not gonna
that's
call
only-
each other. I mean,
Not to mention it could be used as retaliatory against neighbors, and we don't really want to involve, it needs to be clearly defined.
what's
as-
blight in one area might not be in another area. So I
Correct.
see
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of this is subjective, no doubt
So
about
could we
it.
say like North Nashville blight, or East Nashville blight, or?
Or Foxland Harbor blight.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, all right.
But
Good
that
point, that's not
that
gonna
just
work.
caught my eye because of the line of work I'm in, and I'm down there and I see this one is a gym down this road and this one right beside of it. You know, not so much.
Certain, percentage of deterioration, would that?
I think there's gotta be something. I mean, because
I-
like you said, one
agree.
guy might look at it this way, one guy might look that way, and
It gives us a defensible point, I think, because say 15 or 25% of a portion of the structure was impacted, damaged, whatever, that at least gives you something to say, you know, over half this wall is completely eaten away, you know, it's rotted out, termites, whatever. You at least have something to go with.
Yes.
I mean, otherwise, you know, there's a hole in the siding, that's blight.
yeah.
I'm making the phone
Correct.
call.
You're absolutely correct. Roger,
Huh?
your thoughts on that?
A percentage would be good, but, you know, there again, you've got, is it the foundation that's the problem? Is it the roof that's the problem? Is it the wall that's the problem? What's causing the problem?
I think they're looking at it more of as a cosmetic issue than
But you know how cosmetics go.
yeah,
It might be 10% cosmetic and it's 90% structural.
correct.
Well, we
So I
don't
think
care
you
if you're a
need to-
hoarder inside, as long as your outside looks
That's
pretty.
right.
Yeah, we don't go inside.
I know
Well,
plenty of women like that too.
You know, I would say if you're gonna do a percentage, do it on the structural, not necessarily the blight, but the hazard of what it could be.
As a safety
When you
hazard,
take
yeah.
the siding off and you find rats living in it, who knows? So your percentage has to be more than just a physical thing. But he don't have time to go say, hey, we need to take your siding off to see. This is a wide range of what
Correct.
if. And do you do case by case? Todd's gonna be some covered up.
We don't have a personnel to really do
I know.
dilapidation.
That's
I've
what
done
I'm
one
saying.
since
That's
I've
why
been
we're-
here.
yes.
You got time enough to
Use
go
theirs.
find problems and try to solve them, that's all.
Well, I've
you
got
have.
dilapidation, you can't go in,
Yeah,
cause you're gonna die if you go in. You're
Yeah.
gonna touch something, the rest of it's coming down. We
That's what I'm
paid for that,
saying.
Luby Brown, that's about $5,000.
Well,
so when you.
So I'm not worried about if you don't got your, but again, I'm thinking like what Barry's saying. I'm trying to find that word blight in the violations. I might have got a definition that's not even
Mike?
typed in here somewhere.
Well, I was just thinking also, well, maybe we have to do the percentage part.
Yeah,
You know,
I think that's
I agree with that.
Yeah.
There again,
It's
percentage
25%.
of what?
For the structure.
percentage of deterioration, rot, or,
What you can physically
Yeah.
see.
yeah, just physical.
What the complaint's about.
Yeah. I think it's a great point.
Okay, now to go back and pick more fly crap out of the pepper. Go back to page 2, accumulation of debris, et cetera, et cetera.
60%.
A state in which a significant quantity of solid waste products, blah, blah, has, been discarded. What's significant?
Correct.
Yeah.
Define significant for me, because I can tell you right now, on the side of my house, don't be coming by my house neither. We just got through tearing out the porch rails and everything else, and I tore out a wall and framed in a wall. And because of the current condition of our resource center, I have no place to dump my construction debris. How much is too much? I know for me, it's too much right now, but I can't do anything about it. So what is
It's all relative. How
significant?
fast is too fast? How much,
Right.
when am I pulling you over? Every job has some subjection to it.
This
Well,
is
let
a
me-
whole
hey,
lot of subject.
Let me ask you, because I don't know about your ins and outs of your job. Like, if you're out and about and you see a property, let's say it's like his, okay? He did that work, it's sitting out there, okay? Do you just do you make note, that's 102 Main Street, and go back and check it in a month, or go back and?
If I,
Is that how it
if
works? I don't know.
If I drive by your house, I
'Cause that would take
guarantee
care
a
of that
reasonable,
issue.
prudent person with an elementary education could go, that guy's been working on his house, that's not gonna be a problem.
Right.
If I go by there and he's got a pile of crap about 50 of these chairs, we've got a
No,
problem.
and I get that, but what I'm saying is,
But you're
it
right.
goes,
I
it goes
do
to
make
the
note.
timing, because he's saying what's significant. Well, that might be a significant amount, but the timing, if it's only out there for a couple of weeks
That's
until
not
the
a
resource,
problem.
right. And I didn't know if you say, okay, 102.
And you're
that's
very
kind of a crap
intuitive to
load,
say that, because there's a lot of times I'll pass on something, and I know it's bad. I'm gonna give my opportunity that I do pass on stuff, and I'm like, I ain't hitting that today, I've got too much else to do.
Sure.
And then it'll come back around, I'll be in that same neighborhood because of another thing, and the thing is still bad, or, heck yeah, it's gone, I didn't have to work it. And it happens a lot both ways. But that's very good you said, it happens a lot both ways. Or if I send you a letter to see how this works, and you say, well, hey Todd, I just tore off my porch and I'll get to it. Cool, no problem. When do you think you're gonna have that picked up? 2 months, month, whatever, I'll be by. You won't hear from me if I come by and it's gone. If you don't, I'll call you back and see how's it's going. And we'll get it done together. We'll work together, we'll work with you. If that's what you're doing, I'm cool, that's reasonable.
So here,
Okay. thought it came down to a
We
timing
defined
issue.
some of the stuff about blight, but what if we did, instead of saying 20% or 25, what if we had a sentence that says something like, visible evidence in excess of 20% is determined by the building official's inspection?
You need to make that about 50.
I can change it to make it 50, I don't care. But I mean,
I'm just saying,
it's-
50%, but
yeah.
50% of what?
But
For
yeah,
blight, we're talking about.
instead of leaving it
Just
to
in a
the
crap
neighbors, the decision is made
What
by.
are we talking
Because
about?
I think he's talking about for the definition of blight. If you're
Oh, I'm
saying
back to blight, I'm
50%,
sorry.
Okay.
I'm still,
Because
I'm still on
80%
it.
is good. That might be the best I get.
What? That 50% intact?
Visible evidence in excess of 50% as determined by the building official inspector.
Is that visible from the public right of way? Because the neighbors may be looking at the back of the house. And
Well, they can look at it all they want, and then they're the ones that are gonna call and complain, right? So you go there and you see if it's, if it makes a difference, and then it's yours or whatever building officials, that's their decision, not the neighbor.
We have a lot of property in Sumner County that somebody has died, that the probate is stuck or never been done. And nobody knows who anybody is, and the
Who owns it?
farm, the
Yeah.
house, and everything
Oh.
grows up, and it is what it is.
Okay, well,
You can't make nothing happen. So those are not a priority for me. I got
Yeah.
one on Academy Road,
Yeah.
on Butler Road, right off Academy. It just got fixed up real nice and sat back there, looked horrible. And I was shocked that that old farmhouse still looked good after being grown up on.
mm-hmm.
But it took about a year of letters and talking with so-and-so. We don't know who's got the court documents. We're trying to do this, and can't somebody go, please cut the grass for me, this, that, and other. Well, we don't have authority to do it and whatnot, but it works. But those are not a big problem for me in the county
No.
So
compared to.
what I'm hearing from especially Todd, we don't know the fight he has.
Yeah.
Only he knows that fight, and Marshall probably does, and his constituents. We don't know what he's up against. Maybe we need to ride with him one day and let's see what he's.
You want me to bring you some pictures?
That's a great idea.
Hey, I've done it, you know, I think it'd be very useful
right
for you
on.
guys to do it.
I think so. I mean, I'm willing.
Can we get one of them big yellow county school buses out here?
Yeah, we'll get along with
Make
it.
it a short one.
Short one.
I'll bring you some how about just I bring 5 pictures?
Well, and I keep coming back to, yeah, that's great, and I understand, I get a sense of where you're going. My big problem is, and I'm sure you're very equitable and easy to get along with. Once this goes down and after it comes out of that commission, this is the new resolution that we will live by
Yeah.
going forward. And not everybody has got your demeanor and
I agree,
Everybody's
but I
not
think we
taught.
should wait until we start saying what the violation actually is. I think it's good that we're beating on the definitions a little bit. They should be, because that's but really when y'all gonna get haired up is when we got, you call that a code violation? I want you to address that,
Yeah,
because
we're the
that's
ones
what
that's gotta
we'll
hear
stand
it.
on. Nobody's gonna say, well, on so-and-so definition, these are, we trying to over and above, because these that I have now, the definitions themselves
They're terrible.
basically are the violation.
Yeah, it's
Whoever
not-
wrote it was right, and it's got 3 violations that kind of are inclusive of this and this and this. I'm trying to separate it out a little bit on what is and what's not, you know.
So I'm with you. I think it's a great idea. We're starting with definitions and I'm liking where we're going here, so.
One thing I got something to say. One thing that concerns me, because I live on the northern end of the county, and of course there's a lot of low-income people up there that are
Yes,
very poor.
yes.
And you have a neighborhood out there that's got, say, 5 or 6 homes. They've been there for years. Their home's not the best. And a lot of them don't have running water. But you have somebody buy a piece of property across the road from California, get a
Yeah,
nice home.
Amen.
Then they
Welcome
start
to my
complaining about
world.
the
There it is.
neighbors.
you didn't see that when you was buying that home, got that property for $3,000 an acre.
That's
did you?
exactly the point.
Yeah.
And so there's, when folks are buying property out into the county, most of these places that you're talking about, they're pre-existing. Like you said, these are families that have existed there, so you can't.
Yeah.
So are they non-conforming structures?
You can't keep running on them definitions. I'm not done with this question. That's
I'm
not
just
very
trying to keep
respectful
up
for
here.
him. No, you just stay where we're at.
Mike is making a very valid point.
That's what's cleaning up some of the areas as well.
Well-
Because somebody's gonna buy it, they're gonna buy out and clean up, and we get a new house where what was a dilapidated county didn't pay nothing,
Correct. It also
which
makes
is a good thing.
this a big HOA. It's,
No, that's, Jeremy Mansfield told me that about a property that was about this big a pile, and he said, we have HOA in the county, I didn't know that, and it's fair to say,
Mhm.
and we sent a picture of it, and like, I get it. We have couches and everything else piled up and everything else piled up and everything else piled up, and so it was legit, and he was with me. But no, you can't have that mindset with this job that you think you're gonna Gestapo in here. You cannot.
No, well, that's
The commissioners will get you fired.
correct. But you say that, but we never know who the commissioners are gonna be in 6 years from now, and you know, maybe that's the thing, maybe they like big government and.
No, I don't know, Barry.
It's, I just wanna make sure that we're correct when we put
Yeah.
this and send it to legislative, and we're clear on where we stand on things, because, I'm afraid that it could be overused at some point if we're not.
Well, certainly a way to look at it all.
Back to definitions, Mr. Lynch, you seem to be, coming up with some.
Yeah.
That's about the only,
Well, I know where my next one is, and it's on these shipping containers.
oh, yeah.
Come on.
Oh, he's going.
I mean, you know, I know that there's a permit process where they come up there and permit for them, correct?
No,
No?
it's a zoning resolution.
Well, out in the counties?
Yes. No shipping
No
container.
shifting unless you basically put
No.
siding,
No,
that's what this says.
no, this is what we wanna do.
Oh, heck.
We're talking about right now. Right now.
You're talking about the OLA,
No.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, no.
So this is proposing a way to,
Get around it.
okay, well then I'm on board with that, let's talk
I
about
thought
it.
you would. Yeah, we want it.
Yeah, I
Because
think
we
it's,
think it's ridiculous. I mean, I get it. You live in a nice neighborhood and dude brings an orange shipping container with BAS on it because he got it off of a train.
yeah,
You don't want this.
correct.
But if you make it look like, you know, you got a roof on it and siding and everything, what
Like a house.
is the
100%,
difference?
because they're very useful, and so,
Heck
don't want
yeah,
the property
especially in
back.
this climate. There gonna be
Yeah.
some people living in those.
Yeah, that's economic.
Mr. Chairman, I think I need to
Let me
check
ask you a
something
quick
right here
question.
about shipping
So
containers to
he
bring.
brought up non-conforming use earlier.
Where are we at? I don't know. Non-conforming use.
Yeah.
No, that was Bruce talking about, the trailers that didn't have water in them, or the houses.
Right.
But anyway, if a building currently is in either city limits or out in county, and it's non-conforming or grandfathered in under the last zoning, stuff like that, if it, by act of God, burns down, floods, whatever the case may be, can they rebuild it back to that non-conforming status, or do they have to then build it
No,
to
we just
today's
learned.
zoning?
I think it's what Marshall would answer that, but I think the building codes, RC say if it's more than 50%, you
It's
have
gotta
to bring it
it's
up.
It's gotta
the
be
code.
brought up to currents.
We just went over that.
Right, but no, I'm talking about like, it's done. I mean, it's demolished, okay?
50%.
But it was,
They build whatever they want.
but
they're
it's
gonna have to
based
be
on that
correct.
zoning of today's zoning, not of
Right.
when the original structure was.
100% the code, what they said the other day, or what we learned, that it'd have to come back to 100% of the code today, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Marshall had something.
Different between code and zoning, that's what I was asking.
I know we touched on the definition of shipping containers just a minute, but, and I don't want to get ahead of us, but we'll eventually get there. It may be 2 or 3 more meetings, but we have a section on shipping containers, and y'all really have to turn there unless you want to, but, I think that was on page
It's on page
17, yeah. Just a brief history of shipping containers. Everybody knows what we're talking about. We're talking about shipping containers. They have been problems in the past, and some county people bring them in residential and use them, and we have language in our current health and safety standards on shipping containers, but it doesn't address allowing a shipping container to come in and put it on a permanent foundation, put siding on it, put a pitch roof out, well, nobody could tell it's a shipping container. So we thought it might be a good idea to put that kind of language in the new health and safety standards. There was a season there where the previous county attorney, I had a discussion with her, and she told me that she thought it was okay if somebody wanted to bring a shipping container in and they buried it, could nobody see it, or they dressed it up, made it look like a regular accessory structure, nobody could tell it's a shipping container. She said, as far as she's concerned, we should be okay permitting that. But this document is not the only document authorizes or prohibiting shipping containers. There's zoning stuff also. There's zoning stuff like Todd referred to that I think prohibits shipping containers. So just because we look at it and y'all may want to approve shipping containers on a permanent foundation with siding and a roof structure, doesn't mean we don't necessarily get a permit, because our standards have to kind of correspond with their standards. So we don't issue any permits unless they get a zoning compliance packet first from down at the planning department. And they have every right to deny that because they have language in it saying it's prohibited. So I just want to let y'all know that ahead of time. It really needs to be approved on both ends of the hall. And they have it, right now they have every right to deny it, and I respect that decision. So just because we approve it on this end doesn't necessarily mean.
But if they do get approved, then we need to follow this stuff right here. The
Yes.
gabled roof and all that.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yeah. I'm with
and
you.
is that the exact language that's in their process, is what you've got to come, permanent foundation, got to have the gabled roof?
That is what is in this document that y'all looking at tonight, and y'all approve it that way, then it'll be approved on the health and safety standards, but unless it gets proven in the zoning resolution, then we will
It doesn't
not be
matter.
issuing
To move.
permits on shipping containers, regardless of if they're buried, regardless if they look like a accessory structure.
So what I'm
Unless
saying
they're
is if they jump through the hoops down the hallway and they got that permit,
Mm-hmm.
they still gotta jump through the hoops that's in here, and if there's something that don't line up with A, then they're in trouble. So
Yeah.
my suggestion would be to strike every bit of language and just take the shipping containers completely out of this and leave them approved, as long as they get that approval down there.
They're not approved, Barry.
Yeah, they're not approved, that's
If
the
you
problem.
bring, if right now today, if you bring a shipping container, put it down, and I see that you got a shipping
Yeah,
container.
but if I got a permit down the hall,
You're not getting one. They are not going to do that.
As of right now.
as of right now.
Yeah, but, okay, and they just passed their zoning resolutions, what are good for how many years? They are not gonna do shipping containers unless somebody can do a workaround. I don't know if the commissioners can do that, but they will not do it.
So define the workaround, because unfortunately my wife watched too much HGTV, and one of the episodes I saw, literally, these people took, I think it was 6 shipping containers,
Oh,
cut the
yeah.
walls out, welded the walls
No,
together,
we're-
framed in doors, did all this
Yeah.
stuff.
We get it,
I mean,
but
so
right
that
now-
wouldn't be allowed,
no.
even though it'd be a primary residential structure.
I wish the planning engineering director was here because it's his prerogative to what can and what can't. And right now, it's a
Okay.
can't.
Which
I
brings me
would-
to my case
I
in
need
point.
clarification on
We
that.
got a planning and engineering director down there that doesn't think like Todd does, that's why.
No, it's not Todd. It's not Todd. We're just trying to look at some things. We have it, they've got accepting of an accessory structure,
Yeah.
correct? If I put a roof in, how can you tell me this is nothing more than an accessory structure?
Correct.
The ugliness of it, the commercial look of this shipping container is gone. It's not having something commercial in my neighborhood. I got a pretty cool looking little accessory structure out here, so
It's just, at that point, it's nothing more than a building material.
yeah, it's a framing of some sort.
Yes.
But,
Well, they just don't like the way a shipping container looks, but if it looks like something else or it's buried, they might approve it under.
They may reconsider.
That's what I'm thinking.
Once it's approved on y'all's end or
Yeah.
our end, they may
Yeah.
go back and look at it.
Yeah.
But right now,
Yeah,
our standards prohibit it, their resolution prohibits it, so, but they may reconsider, I don't know.
so just leave it in here.
I like
let
the
them
language that's
come to
already in
us
there.
down the road.
and please respect that
Yeah.
we can't say nothing to that side.
Oh, I do, I understand what your
It's
limitations
not fair
are.
with them not being here. We may say something that they'd be perfectly fine with, but as it stands now.
Yeah, I get it.
And we're trying. You can see that on this end, a reasonable and prudent person would think this is perfectly acceptable in your neighborhood. So we're trying.
Well, next in definitions, anybody? Bruce, I know you got some junk cars in your yard. You know,
Hey, can you go over that permanent basis, please? Because you were talking about people living in campers right now.
Yes.
Can we touch on that for a little bit?
Sure.
Because according to new language, I have to go back and look at the old language, but according to new language, that's not gonna be acceptable after 45. I mean, they can be out there for 44 days, I guess, and on the 45th day, it's considered permanent basis, and they'll be in violation.
I'd have to look at what the violation specifically says, but that term permanent basis would go back to the 45 days. And I think on the old one, what is it? You have to be a relative, you can live there on a RV, quote unquote, on a permanent basis while you're constructing your home up to 30 days after its completion.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, in this climate right now, where people have no money, this is a problem. It's not a huge problem in the county, but it's one that I have a hard time moving. I do get them moved. Had one by the new school over here. What is that, Station Camp Creek?
over there by Liberty Lane, one of my favorite roads.
And put it right up by the road, and it was his son, went through a divorce, and I get to hold the thing. I was like, dude, you gotta help me out, it's gotta go, you're visible. If you was up somewhere in the country, we could work around you, it's gotta go, and he got it going. But it took a couple months, and it's more than 45 days, but once again, if I'm looking at through your lens, we gotta figure out what is acceptable. Do we wanna extend that time frame 45? Is it of this board's opinion that we need to be more lenient or more restrictive? Some people don't like it at all. I don't want my neighbor here's where I'm going. My neighbor lives right next door to me. She's got her in-laws living in this camper, and I smell them getting the gray water and the poop out every other 3 days, and it's on my last nerve. You need to do something about that. I mean, we did something, but it took a lot of negotiation, I promise you. But they hate it, especially if it's in a smaller, lot. You got a quarter lot, and everybody's living. If you're out and somewhere in the country, nobody cares.
Yeah.
And neither do I. But
And there's a lot of homes that's got storage buildings that family live in and the motorhome that they're living in.
I know, brother. I know what you're saying. I can
And they got a
feel where
dumpster
you're at.
for
Yeah,
the
and you
garbage.
wouldn't want your dog to live in there.
We've done a lot of development out in these counties on smaller lots that have made this more of an issue. I think it's part of the problem.
Thinking about Brian, for sure, with time frame with this, and just put a question by it. Time frame, that'll work.
Any more on definitions? I guess we're moving on to regulations and administration and enforcement. You want to run through this one, Todd?
Just quickly, this is where this term blight, the reason why I included in definition purposes section resolution is to document Sumner County health and safety standards violations and to establish minimal requirements that will provide a reasonable level of safety, health, protection, general welfare of Sumner County residents. These regulations control the exterior deterioration, blight of existing residential and non-residential structures, including pools, spas, and fences. The prescribed standard of this resolution primarily applies to, but is not necessarily limited to, the exterior of the home, accessory structure, and the condition of overall upkeep of all real property. In the event of an emergency, the building official shall not be required to provide a written notice prior to requiring the premises to be vacated in imminent danger of fire. I don't know that we've ever had to do that, or what that came from, probably another resolution that I got that from.
I'm gonna move forward from you a little bit there, just because I've seen it. So somebody that has you go out, you put the place card, they want a hearing with this board. It says here that a $300 fee will be assessed to that person for a hearing with this board.
That's questionable. What do you think about that?
I think a $0 hearing, we're not paid to do this job, and I don't think it is proper because taxpayers having an issue to ask them to.
I think we asked them for Boca 300.
You ask them for what?
Boca, when we have a Boca meet, that's why we threw that in there. If y'all don't want it zero, I'm good, because I thought Mike's got, they ain't got no money to
Yeah,
fix one of them,
sometimes
they
we're
don't
talking
have
about
$300. They have $300, they'd get a dumpster out and fix
Yeah,
it.
I don't like the idea of charging.
Okay. You scratch it, Kim? Zero.
You figured it out?
I hope so, that's good.
We'll bring it up
It
for
ain't- You ain't getting it anyway.
approval. Yeah, you know, that's just.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea because the Board of Construction Appeals, people that's coming here to appeal that usually get money, but people that's health and safety, like Todd says, they're usually financially struggling.
Yeah, they're strapped.
That actually makes me happy.
Good.
There you go.
We're here for your
Because you
pleasure.
can't, but I mean, how can you negotiate with somebody that said, well, I would have called the board on you, but, it
I
never
don't
happens, but I don't have $300.
Correct, and I think that's fair. Going through the definitions kind of like, it kind of helps me sum some of this up pretty quick on me, so
That's fine.
it helped.
Hey, I know Marshall might want to ask you, and I have a question on this first one about this 9/11 addresses.
Mhm.
There's a big push to try to get this implemented somehow, and there's no way I can ride around and measure mailboxes.
Make sure they have contracts.
Yeah, but I don't know what we can do. Would y'all suggest that maybe we do something in the newspaper, or what does that look like?
I was
That's
wondering
a
Chapter
if we
first
four
one.
violations, all designated with a legal 911.
I
Explain
was
to
wondering
them.
if we were trying to adopt Davidson County STR guide,
I don't know what that is.
a short-term rental.
Oh,
Davidson County, for all your Airbnb properties and all that stuff now, they all have to have
a big-
4-inch numbers, they have to be visible from the street, or they have to be placarded on the side of the post, on the mailboxes. It's a thing, but it's Davidson County.
Yeah, I think
We don't
this
wanna
is
be
because
Davidson
the
County.
EMP is asking us to do this because they're having problem locating people who are hurt.
I mean, it's completely reasonable to display your address
Yeah.
for those purposes. So what we need to know at this point is how do we advertise to the public that this is coming about? Is that what you're, I think you can kind of do that through two campaigns. One of them, social media government, we got websites and then public notification, and then we adopt it through this committee,
Yeah,
right?
but what's the ramifications of somebody not,
Once it gets big, go back to the same thing. I mean, he could put the,
oh no, but you're gonna sit there, we're gonna find somebody because they didn't put the right contrasting numbers on their mailbox and stuff like that?
from this one, I could almost see it, because when you don't have your address up, it makes it more difficult for them to find me if I'm in an emergency.
No doubt about it. I mean, I drive these country roads all the time, and I'm thinking, where in the world?
Yes, yes.
You know?
It's on the other side of the mountain.
Yeah, no doubt. And I get it, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
What's the
you talk about a lot of
enforcement,
things on your plate.
what's the enforcement mechanism? Is it-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to have the rule, but then you gotta have the consequence of breaking the rule.
And Todd will write him a letter if the addresses are visible, right?
You gonna hire me a couple secretaries?
No, I mean, you know,
Make them purchase
That's
one when they get
one
to
thing.
your
The school board doesn't use all
That
their
was
miles
from up
taken.
front, I think that's fair, Marshall, but they could that's, I think that is part of a, certificate of occupancy, is it not? Having a mailbox number up correctly, or no?
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, on the construction, but this language is put in here at the request of Mike Guthrie, the 9/11 emergency administrator.
Yeah.
I don't have his title exactly right, but I've had conversations with him, and he asked us, what can we do to make people go back retro who don't have their 9/11 addresses put up, and see if we can't do something together with him, coordinate with him, and try to, and it's definitely something that I think y'all need to look at.
It's a good thing. I just, you say to somebody, hey, we don't have to threaten them with a fine or anything, just say, hey, what if you have a heart attack and they can't find your house, right? What if your house is on fire and they can't find your house? You want to be that person, right?
This could be something as simple as the, I mean, I don't know what it would cost the county. Obviously, everything's going to incur a cost. We could have the numbers for every address and mail them to each occupant and ask them to be displayed. At that point, if you hadn't, then you've not, it looks to me like, I don't know, Steve, would be enforceable from there, right? If the county give you property to display on your...
It'll be enforceable either way.
Yeah.
It's up to the property owner to display it if you put it in here.
Yeah.
Regardless of how it's
You can't see
done.
numbers, you don't know who's got a white mailbox or who's got a black
I mean,
mailbox, so you can't see.
Or if it's on the wrong side of the road.
Well, that's true, okay, yeah, there's some drawback there.
Yeah.
Because the language says it has to be
Spitballing, Brian, help me.
Yeah.
But I think it's worthwhile, definitely worthwhile.
I spoke with Mike
Yeah,
Guthrie
I mean,
again
it's-
on this past Monday night, and he will come in and share with you all their needs and let y'all know what they need as far as 911 addresses, and see if y'all can help them out.
Well, maybe we can work together, then that'd be a great idea.
Yes, so he wants to come and talk to y'all about that.
I
Sounds
know
good.
the volunteer fire departments used to do as a fundraiser.
Yeah.
Had those number signs to donate $20 or whatever, they put you on I don't know if they still doing that or
So
not.
I'm with you. That's a great idea, and I think him coming in here, giving us a talk, working together, and figuring that one out is a good, worthwhile project.
Just let me know what night you want him here, and I'll contact him.
How about this one right here on number 2? Either the 15 inches or the 50-foot barrier mowed around. I remember somebody I was talking to said, man, that's a couple passes with a big, maybe how about 25 or 20, Todd? And I'm fine with anything, just as long as you could separate the high vegetation from your neighbor's boundary, something.
20 feet would be fine.
25, I think is fine too, I agree.
25 is plenty reasonable.
Yeah.
Y'all tell me, are you writing this down too, aren't you, Jim?
Yeah.
So, Todd, what if you had a tree line between your property and your neighbors?
I think it
Oh,
should
it-
have some language subject to topical
Yeah.
geography, so like if you
It
got a
doesn't
tree
count.
line, no, but if you got a fence row and your buddy's here and you're here and you're doing this and he's down low, you need to have something.
So, all of my property, except for what the county never cuts, okay?
Down front of the street.
They never cut it. You can't even see my mailbox. I have to get out there and cut it because it's a high bank. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, my entire property is lined with trees because I don't want neighbors.
Yep,
So, as long as it's not impeding their property,
you
it's
fine.
No, I mean, even the language says excluding standing forest, so you got trees and.
Yeah.
I mean, run all the rats
It's
off.
the grass.
The rats.
It's the weeds and
I know,
grass.
my house too, raccoons and all of it, I got it all, brother. I like it
Property
too.
lines
Yeah.
I beat
excluding
'em.
that. So if you got trees, you ain't gotta worry about
So
Property
you're-
maintain permit, maintain on property vacant, dilapidated building or structure, so.
Yeah.
So we're taking that to less than 50 feet. Is that what
I would
you're
take it to 20, I mean, even if you look at public utility right of ways, they're never 50 feet, man.
No, they're not.
They'll take 20, they'll take 10 to 20 feet,
Who does some farming,
Look
how
at-
much is a,
you know, so.
Well, a 5-foot bush hog is a normal bush hog.
Yeah.
5 foot?
If your property
No,
butts
that's
up
still
against
4
mine, we
laps.
both have
That's
the
4 laps around
25
it.
feet, you got 50 feet of open space other than the trees.
split the difference, make it 10 feet. I mean, it's,
Whatever.
25 feet railroad right away.
Yeah,
Table's probably
yeah,
20 feet.
25 feet, whatever, but I mean, they're
Yeah,
got,
Mike's
your
right, this
neighbor has to
table-
do it
this
too,
table's
right?
probably
Right
20
at
foot.
property line?
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, that's probably a 20-foot table from here to there. I mean,
20 feet's good enough.
Yeah.
Keeps rodents and snakes from crawling over there, because they'll play to haul us in.
Well, I go along with whatever
They can
everybody
screw you
thinks here,
in.
okay? 20 feet, 25, whatever, it's all good. But yeah. 50 feet's pretty much. Excessive.
Number 3, Todd, you want?
Shall be a violation of these regulations for any owner of property to create, maintain, or permit to be maintained on a property a vacant, dilapidated building or structure that endangers the health, safety, or welfare of other persons. This includes buildings and structures damaged by fire, exterior repairs, additions or alterations to a structure, or changes of occupancy shall be done in accordance with the IBC.
So is there a condemned guideline that you go by on a structure? Would that be, would that not be stated under a condemned building or structure? Or
Because if it's not condemned and you just determine that it needs to be put back into repair, that could potentially result in somebody having to bring the whole daggone thing up to current code and.
Or condemn it.
Or condemn it, yeah.
Well,
Is there an oh, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's
Go
all right.
ahead.
the code says the building official has authority to condemn a building if it's life safety issues, put the flags and all that up. But the judge and the court system is the only one that has authority to have it tore down. So I don't know if that answers your question.
This is a vacant building, vacant.
And we define vacant by a period of 2 years, correct? That's when it's considered vacant.
Yep. And that's a long time, so by then, it's coming down. That being said, I don't see it that much,
Yeah.
but
I don't know, gentlemen, y'all are smarter than me.
What, can you give me like a good example of this? I mean, are we riding through a neighborhood where we see this happening?
No.
Or are you riding out in Bethpage and seeing an old accessory unit or a barn about to fall down?
No.
I mean, what's the?
you go to Louis Brown off of 52,
Yes, sir.
and there's a church sitting right there, and this house has been there since, I don't know, probably early 1900s on a non-buildable lot that's smaller than this room here, and it takes most of it, and it's an attractive nuisance because it's still got the stuff in it. It's got piano, it's
You
got.
talking about at the corner of Harv Brown?
It's Luby Brown Road.
Okay.
It may be right there. And we got it tore down because those kids were having daycare here, and just at that door, hey, look at that record player.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted it because it has no intrinsic value. The property taxes were like $130 a year, and nobody wanted it. So we basically spent $5 grand, tore it down, got grass sowed and everything, and it's an improvement. I know it was an improvement for the church, but the risk to the county, I thought at some point, you have written how many letters, you've talked to how many people, the county knows that this is a problem. Steve would have to help me, and I don't know what our liability exposure would be, but if my son went in there and I found out that we've been working this so much and you didn't do nothing, it's a problem because it was coming down inside, and it was, I mean, it was falling. There's no remodeling it. It is just the only one I've touched. It's all but demolishing itself. So.
Okay.
Did you come to 1099 Les Brown Road?
Is that one? But see, here's where we'll get into another conversation at some point. Where are these monies coming from?
Exactly.
We got Dobbins Pike with Spooky House over there, 2-story built on neighbor's property and everything else. We're going to court and we're getting it going, but it takes time. It takes time, and it's the resources. So trying to ask for some, but show that we can spend it, but have, you know, it's a balance, you know. When I come in here, what do you get to do and what you don't get to do, you know? How much do we got to spend, what you can't spend? It's a big deal to take down Louis Brown. I was proud of that. It'd been on the books for about 15 years. So, but we're getting it going, but it takes time. Anyway.
And once again, we go to number 4, back to what Brian was saying before, we don't have any, we don't have any guide here. This is all subjective to how you feel at the time, which means the next, so I just think that there needs to be a percentage of deterioration, once again, added to that.
Or strike the whole thing. I mean, it just, like I said, we were reaching for the stars and seeing what falls out, you know,
Yeah,
because
sure.
we have problems, but as far as finances to fix it and personnel to go get it
yeah.
all. But like you did say, you know, I'm not gonna be the last dude here, and maybe they'll have other people helping at this position. I don't know.
You need to strike the whole thing.
What was that?
I said, I don't think we need to strike the whole thing.
No, I
at
think
all,
we just need
because
to-
then you just have people running rampant, not fixing
Yeah.
anything.
I think we need a percentage of like we discussed before.
Yeah, I mean, home inspector would be the best person to chime in on that.
Yeah, Bruce?
You get
Home
percentage and leave it
Home
to
inspector would-
discretion.
Well, it's good time to take a nap for a home inspector.
So I'm sitting there, visible signs of cracks, denigration, failure.
Starting having a problem. It's gonna-
I'm familiar with those.
I'm
Wait a minute.
I'm a property maintenance guy.
Yeah.
I guess if you can see it from the driveway or the street, that's a problem.
Oh, dear Lord, yeah. That's what I'm talking about today. You
Yeah.
can see it from Mars.
Maybe approve it.
You know, maybe some of these, we have to just think about them a whole lot more, and then maybe come back to a couple of things next meeting.
Oh, yeah, I feel like this is probably gonna take a couple
Yeah,
of
yeah,
meetings to get through.
yeah.
Where we at on time, guys?
Well, it's almost 20 after 6.
So if we wanna table this, for further discussion at our next meeting, if I hear a motion to table? Second?
Motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yeah, man, contact Mike Guthrie and ask him.
What'd be good for him, and then we'll coordinate that together. I think that's.
Yeah.
Oh, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.